Good morning and welcome everybody to episode 4 of Get Stephed, a hairdresser in conversation. This morning I'm extremely lucky to have my very first guest for this series, Janice Maple. Janice and I have known each other for a very, very long time. We first met, I think, when our children were going to daycare, and since then, Janice has just been an incredible person to know. She is very community focused. She's incredibly generous. She has zero ego, which I find extraordinary because she's an incredibly successful human, very caring. And I couldn't think of anybody better that I would want on as my first guest. So as a reminder of why I've started these podcasts, this is all about just having great conversations with people that have previously inspired me. So I trust that you will enjoy the conversation that Janice and I are about to have. We're regular people having normal conversations. So I hope that you get some inspiration out of this. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Janice on to our conversation. How are you?
Oh, thanks so much, Steffi. I'll just leave my ego at the door after that introduction. But I was thinking about that as you were saying that, and I'm very conscious of that in the work that I do, that I'm constantly presenting what I do to support other people, but not necessarily about myself, because when I do things, it's not actually about me. It's about helping other people, whether it's through the real estate or Kindred Women Together. It's all about what we can do to help each other through the process. And I love doing that.
I know. I feel like, your biggest focus really is connection with people and the collaboration, the win-win, or how can we do this together to make it bigger and better than what we thought. I feel like that's your approach with just the way you get through life. It's all about helping others.
I think, I'm at a stage in my life where I'm looking back over my life and the different things that have happened. And I think from a very early age, I've always had an eye out for the underdog and for those people that needed, a little bit more help. And so for me, it's just been a natural progression to get to this point where, I just got to a stage where it was all about women, and I felt that was my need to support women in our area. And it just was a natural thing to put myself out there to go, okay, I don't know, my son said to me late last year, he's, 12 at the time, and he said, Mum, you're a really kind person. And I said, really? Oh, that's really nice. Thanks. Why do you say that? And he said, because you're doing all this stuff for all these women, and no one else is doing it. You're doing it. You came up with the idea and you just did it. And I thought, oh, that's really lovely that, my 12-year-old son recognized it. But for me, it was something that was always there, that I just felt that I needed to do it. And so I couldn't get away from it. I had to just do it. It was like, just do it. So here we are.
And to clarify for our listeners, what we are actually talking about here is an inspiration that Janice had. Was it around 2015, your first seed of an idea?
It was around then, yes.
All right.
I think, about 2015.
And before I let her go on with explaining this way better than what I could, Janice had this fantastic idea or question in her mind: how can I connect women, especially new to the area? How can I encourage friendships and grow community? And that was how her first idea of the Ink Club started. That was your first progression of this idea in 2018, wasn't it? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, I think there was definitely a seed planted at a time when, I myself, even though I had been part of this community for, coming up 15 years at the time, there was a moment in my life where I felt a little bit disconnected from the community, even though I was connected in so many different ways, through my children, through the school, through, all the activities that I'd been involved in. But I also recognised with the people that were moving to the area that this disconnection was there, where people's lives were changing. They were getting to a stage in their life where they were now looking at themselves and what their interests are, and they were looking at ways to connect. And it was something in me that just was there in the back of my mind, that I thought, oh, look, wouldn't it be great if there was a way that women could, you know, first of all, it was like a Facebook group. They could get online and find other women like themselves, and just do simple things like go for a walk, or go and see a movie, something like that. So that was the initial seed, and that was planted, yeah, as I said, back in 2015. But it took me until 2018, yeah, to get that idea out of my head and into an actual program.
And what did that program first look like? Because I know where it's at now, it's had a fantastic evolution. But what did it look like then?
Oh, look, I have to take myself back to that time, because it has grown so much over the last 18 months. But back at that time, it was in my head, and I remember talking to a few different people about, I've got this idea of, creating these events, and it being inclusive, it being open to any woman who wanted to get involved. Because I know sometimes it's really difficult when you move to a new area, or you're trying to break into different things, and you turn up at the school, for argument's sake, and all the parents are talking to each other and they all know each other and you're new. And I just thought this would be a great way to provide something where any woman could turn up, and everyone would be in a similar boat, or they would be there for the same reason, to meet other women, and it would be a really welcoming place. So the first idea was just to start up a calendar of events for a year, and have a monthly activity, and just invite whoever wants to come along and meet other women. So there were more larger scale events, so the large scale events were part of the first 12-month program, and we established a club called the INC Club, which was basically short for the Inclusive Social Club for Women. And yeah, we had a lot of women. We actually had a membership base there, and women joined up, and then they just participated in the events that they wanted to do. It started off being more social, so morning teas, high teas, going to local events like the cabaret, and then it progressed into doing actual activities together, and that's when it changed to be what it is today.
And so what it has evolved into, just for everyone, is Kindred Women Together. And so, Janice, can you tell us a little bit how you feel that it evolved very naturally into what it is right now, and why it's different?
I think it just progressed like things do when you have an idea and you put it out there. And I guess when I was talking to people about it, in the first year, people were saying, "Oh, well, what's your plan with it?" And I'm like, I'm not really sure. I know what my purpose is, which is to provide activities for women in the area to be able to connect with each other. And if I keep going back to my purpose, then everything that we do is aligned with that. So
I love that.
So as it went on, different people started approaching me, and I found that really fantastic, because that was part of it as well, was supporting local people within our community, supporting local businesses within our community by the activities that we were doing. And so I was just really open to watching it, how it was going to, where it was going, and just supporting that process. So we started introducing different activities. So right at the start, we had a vocal workshop, which is singing classes. We had Tai Chi, we had art workshops as well. And these were with local instructors who all approached me about, how about this? Do you think women would like this? And I thought, well, let's just put it out there and see what would happen. And it was, a success right from the start. What I realized too with that is that by offering these activities, like-minded women would join them. So women who like doing Tai Chi, women who like doing art. And by having smaller group activities and doing them over a few weeks, women were, they were loosening up, they were getting comfortable with other women, they were chatting, they were forming new friendships, forming new connections, again, aligning with my purpose and of, just providing opportunities for women to connect in the area. So we just continued the year adding different things as they came along. And that was the end of last year. And then at the start of this year, COVID hit. And so pretty much all of the large scale activities had to stop. And at that, which was interesting because initially that was the main focus. And so I remember the first week that COVID hit and I was sitting at home thinking, oh my gosh, what does all this mean? And my intuition is probably going to sound a bit woo-woo, but my intuition said to me...
like woo-woo.
I've got to be very Byron here, but...
No.
But my intuition said to me, you need to focus on the women in this time. And at that stage, I was doing a monthly newsletter. And I thought, no, we've got to boost this communication because it's this sort of thing where women will, well, anyone, not just women, but people will start feeling disconnected. And so straight away, I looked at all of the programs that we were doing and spoke to the instructors and said, look, can we take them onto Zoom, which was, the buzzword at the time. And so some of our instructors did go onto Zoom. But I increased the frequency of the newsletter from monthly to weekly. I also spoke with the CWA, the Bangalore Lionhearts, and I looked at other services that were happening within Bangalore, and I looked at promoting those activities to the women in our community to get on board with, because, at that stage, people were just sitting at home thinking, well, what can I do? I don't know what's going on out there. And it was a great way of connecting the women, even though we physically weren't actually seeing each other, we were still able to connect. And I received, after a month of doing that, or 6 weeks or so, I received so much feedback from women within our community just saying how wonderful it was to still feel connected and to, cook for the Lionhearts or to knit for the CWA. Or things they were doing, and, they just felt connected by that communication. And that really reinforced to me that what we were doing was, definitely what we were supposed to be doing, which was, keeping people connected at that time.
So it sounds like to me, and I've always thought this about you, Janice, that you are someone that follows your heart. I know over years of just being friends and listening to you, being part of your life, you are someone that has an incredible intuitive nature. And what I love about that is you don't second guess your intuition. You follow your heart. Do you feel that you're really connected in with that these days?
I think that, as I've gotten older and I now understand, different synchronicities that happen in life, I now look at, I now totally trust in my intuition and my gut instinct with different things. And I don't really ever second guess anything. So if something comes along and it feels right or it feels wrong, I understand that and I act on it accordingly. So sometimes when it's not feeling right, it might take me a little while to understand what's going on. But that is your body's telling you that, this situation's not good. Yeah, and I understand my body now. So when a situation's happening that I don't feel comfortable with, I can act on it a lot more quicker than what I have in the past. And as I said, I don't second guess it. I just go, yeah, that's not right, and I move on or address it or deal with it accordingly.
And so, in those moments where your intuition isn't as bang on or epiphany like, in those moments where it's more, okay, this is interesting, could you share some of the things that you do in your lead up just to getting clarity? Because I feel it is human nature for us to second guess our intuition until we become confident with it.
Yeah, I think at this point, if something's not working for me, and I am actually going through a situation at the moment where it's where I keep getting, I'll say, blockages. Basically the word no it keeps appearing, and I keep thinking, excuse me, I keep thinking, well, what does that actually mean, and why is this happening? And so instead of trying to fighting through it and forcing something that's not meant to be, I actually sort of, take some time to think about, well, why is this actually happening? What have I done to contribute to this? Is it something that I'm doing that's, not quite right? Or is it that there's something, bigger going on, that this isn't meant to happen at this time? And when you have that level of, I guess, questioning or then understanding, you can actually just let the process go and just be in it and go, okay, look, you know what, I'm not going to attach myself to an outcome here. I'm doing the best I can to make this happen. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm moving on.
I love that.
I mean, I use that actually in my negotiations as well. Like, you can push. If it's not meant to be, it will not happen.
And is this your negotiations with real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes I get to a point where I talk to, buyers and sellers, and I say, you know what, this is too hard. It's not working. The buyer's not coming up, or the seller's not coming. And sometimes, time is the timing is the magic answer, where it's like, you know what, everyone just go and have a think about what's important here. And, do you want to sell the property? Do you want to buy the property? This is where we're going to, meet in the middle, or however we're going to do it. And most of the time we'll get it together. Sometimes we don't. And when it doesn't happen, it's, that ability to go, it's okay, let it go. It wasn't meant to be. The right thing will come up at the right time. And the number of times I've had buyers who have missed out on a property, maybe another buyer's come in and offered more or something, and they're so disappointed with the process. And I go, look, it wasn't meant to be. Because if it was meant to be, you would have bought the property. So another property will come up. And those buyers will, inevitably come back to me and say, you know what, Janice, it wasn't the right time. This then happened in our life, or we found another property, or this, whatever happened. But they then get they get it afterwards that, yeah, that wasn't actually meant to be at that time.
And so
I try and help them through that process at the time.
Well, I was just thinking that how valuable that would be, just to have someone in that process with the certainty about accepting the process, good or bad, hearing that voice of reason, especially when you feel disappointed about something you thought you were invested in.
Yeah. It's, I guess, because I do it all the time, I'm going through this process, and, and some people, I'm very open, I'm, if I'm at a property and, I'm doing an open house, and buyers, they avoid me, sometimes buyers think, oh, she's a real estate agent, she's just going to harass me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what, I actually don't work that way. If you don't want to come over and, give me your details, or, tell me what you're looking for or whatever, well, I'm not going to go out of my way to help you, because you've got to help the process as well. You've got to set that intent that you want to buy a property in Bangalore. So you need to come and tell me what you're looking for, what you want, blah, blah. And guess what? You'll then become front of my mind. and I'll help you with that process. But if you're hiding that intention, then guess what? You're not going to be
Yeah, I
supported.
think it's like anything in life, isn't it? You've got to put it out there what you want.
You have to. You have to put, and it's with, but it's with everything, not just real estate. It's with everything that you want in your life. And, I'm learning this myself as well, is that, if you're clear about what you want, and you put it out there, however you do it, whether you write it down or just talk about it to other people or tell people this is what you want, it will happen because you're clear. You've actually voiced that and you've said, this is what I
And
want, and you'll be
I think
supported.
also not getting stuck in the what I don't want scenario. Because often,
Yes.
those scenarios that present themselves to us and they show us what we don't want. We're like, oh, how do I get out of this? How do I change this? How do I improve it? But sometimes we can get stuck in that emotion. So are you saying that maybe it's a good thing to go, right, I see what's going on here. What do I really want?
Absolutely. I was in a situation, 18 months ago where I took, 4 months annual leave off work because I was stuck. I was not where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be working in an office, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, working Saturdays, that whole corporate feel. I had done that and I knew that I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't know how to change it. Anyway, a few things happened and I now look back and I go, oh, okay, thanks universe. You gave me the push that I needed to get the life that I wanted. And just by saying, I don't want to be doing this, it was like, well, what do you want? And what I wanted was to have more time in my week. I wanted to be home when my son gets home from school. Sorry, I've got this cough now. I wanted to be home when my son got home from school. I wanted to be able to give more time to my community. I wanted to do things that I've always wanted to do, like start playing golf, do Tai Chi, do all those things. But when you're working Monday to Friday, it's hard to fit those things in. And so I just put it out there that this is what I want. And so what I did was when I went out on my own, I got my week and I put in all the things that I wanted to do. So I blocked out, okay, well, I'm doing Tai Chi on a Thursday morning. Now I have every second Friday I do golf, blah, blah, blah. I put all of that into my diary first and I work around that. And because I do have that flexibility of, being able to, booking clients on certain days. And I just say, yep, I'm available Thursday afternoon. And I'd book them in for that time.
I love that. So,
but I had to have the intention.
Yes. You're saying you put it down, you wrote it down, you got it out of your mind, you put it on the paper. There it is. I was just thinking before moments ago, do you remember that very first week where you took the leap? You took the leap from working for someone to working for Janice. Do you remember the feeling in that process?
Oh, the first week I remember sitting at my desk at home going, okay, well, now what do I do? I'm sitting here in my desk at home and it was at that moment where I was sitting there going, well, all you've done is you've relocated from that office to this office, but you haven't changed anything. So you need to change that. And that's when I got that week out and, my diary out and went, right, okay, how do I want this to look? I remember also at that time, putting out a figure there with my real estate going, it'd be really good if I could, sell this many properties this year. And I let it go. And this week or last week was my first year in real estate. And I got to the end of the year and I had even almost forgotten that it had been a year because I've been so busy with everything else. And I thought, oh, I'm going to add up what I've done this year because the old me knew exactly what I was doing. I had my, real estate KPIs, I had all of that stuff. But running my own show, it was like, oh, well, you're only responsible for yourself. You're only responsible for your clients. It doesn't matter what you're doing, bringing in, it will just look after itself. And anyway, I added up all my stuff and I'd actually achieved what I'd set out to achieve, except for 1 month. And I blame COVID for that. But I went, everything stopped for that month. But I actually achieved what I wanted to achieve. And I was so shocked because I thought, you haven't even looked at this since 12 months ago, but you put it out there and you've done
Well, see,
it.
this is the thing. I mean,
yeah,
first of all, congratulations on that. Like, that's
thank
a
you.
champion effort in trusting, you know?
Yes. Trusting, and that is the key. That is the absolute key, is that trust the process. And even when I sold my own home last year, I was looking at a post that I put on Instagram or something the other day, and that was back in August, and I listed my house and I said, okay, now I've got to do what I tell all my clients to do: trust the process. Which is, put it on the market. We know what we're doing as agents. We know how to sell a property. You just have to trust the process now, that the buyers will come in and they'll do what they're supposed to do. So, yeah.
And I think also that can be a speed bump for a lot of us too. That, okay, well, here's my intention, universe or God, I'm going to lay it at your feet, or whoever it is that's a source of power or healing universally for you. Whoever that is, you write your intention down, you let it go, put it out there. That next step of trust, that is a whole other thing, because, it's easy to look back and reflect and go, oh, yes, I remember. I had my first thought of this back in blah, 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 and look at how far I've come. But when you're at the beginning of that process of intention, you really have to have that combination of letting it go, like you said, but also trusting.
Totally. And, the problems that I face in, when I'm negotiating with people is when people are trying to control the process and they get fixated on, an outcome, which is like, what, that's, in an ideal world, yes, everything's going to go that way, but you need to have some flexibility there. Your focus is maybe selling and moving on. Just let the process happen, because maybe, if you don't sell for exactly what you want, when you buy something else, you'll get it for slightly less and the outcome will be exactly the same, which is moving on to the next, stage in your life. Just don't get fixated on the details. So that's a lot that, I put into it. It's like, okay, I know what your intention is. I'm going to support that. Just don't worry about the details. It is hard,
It
though.
is. It is.
It is
And
hard.
look, it's a challenge, but I also think it's like a muscle that you've got to grow and build. So just simply practicing the intention and then the trust, I think that is just part of getting better at it. Would you say?
Yeah. And also trusting that it'll come back around, like it'll come back around. And I know when I, sold my house and, I got slightly less than I wanted to get, which is, like every vendor, like it's like, oh, I really wanted this, and I was slightly less, but it was still, I was very happy with the result. And because, I was about to go out on my own, 2 weeks later, I go out on my own and I sell well, not however long it was, within a month, I sell my very first property under my new banner. And guess what? I made up that difference that I'd lost in my first sale. And so, and that wasn't lost on me.
Yeah.
That wasn't lost on me, that the fact that I was able to back myself in my business, like I sold my house, I had, money in the bank. I didn't have that pressure of, you've got to be earning this much money. I was rewarded.
Yeah.
I was rewarded within a month with a really healthy sale that set me up for the next, 3 months. So I went, I get it. I understand
And I
it.
think that awareness is a big part of it, isn't it, Janice? Because sometimes these things happen, but we don't notice them.
That's right. And yeah, that is it. And sometimes people, they get caught, as you said, they get attached to something that happened that is a negative thing, and they can't see the positive that came out of it. Like, maybe they didn't sell for as much as they wanted to sell for, but guess what? They're still mortgage free.
Yeah.
and it's like, well, focus on that. Don't worry that just focus on that part, because that's the positive, or focus on that you don't have to pay council rates anymore, or whatever the positive is. Just focus on that. Don't worry about that, because you can't move forward if you're looking behind you all the time.
That's perfectly said. Perfectly said. And so I was just thinking before too, the women that come into Kindred Women Together and start doing these activities that they initially relate to, then they start to connect and form friendships. Are you noticing those women are now starting to branch out and go, do you know what? I've always wanted to try to surf. I'm going to try it.
Yes. I love it, because I actually just got an email this morning from a woman who has done, she just did the art workshop on the weekend. She's done singing in the past. I think she's been to some of our social events, and she just sent me an email this morning, and she said, look, this is a bit out there, but I'd really like to do tap dancing.
Oh.
And I went, and she said, I know some people that I've seen some women do it in the hall, blah, blah. And as I'm reading, I've gone, yeah, I know that woman. Of course, I know that woman who does the tap dancing. And so I'm in my head, I'm going, great, I'm going to give her a call and see if she wants to, if some of these women can come and join their group, or they could add on another group or whatever. And for me, I and this is the thing about all these synchronicities, I feel that I'm the right person to do this, because I've lived here for 20 years. I know a lot of people here. I have a lot of connections. And so the woman who does the tap dancing said to me, because I know her, said to me ages ago something about tap dancing, blah, 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 blah. But we're all really old, but it'd be good to get some fresh blood in, because they're in their 70s and 80s. And but she said, as long as they don't expect to, be performing on Broadway, then that's okay. We could probably help out. And so this woman coming to me this morning, I'm going, oh yeah, of course you've come to me, because I already have that connection, and I'm the person that is supposed to facilitate this.
So
that's how it works.
What do you get out of this, Janice?
I get a really beautiful feeling in my heart when I see the women that are participating, and I see them, go off after, Tai Chi, they're like chatting, or when they get there, they're chatting, and it's like, oh, come on, ladies, we're going to do a class. And then afterwards, they're like, okay, we're going to go and have a coffee now. And I know that those women didn't know each other before they came to this activity. And all of the things like the surfing, the Libby who recommended or asked if we could do that, she came to the art class, and she's done golf. She said, you know what, I'd really love to learn how to surf, because my kids, surf and they're teenagers, and I'd just like to do it. And there we were, 6 women out in the surf in the middle of winter, and the instructor's going, you girls are so brave. And we're like, or stupid, but anyway, there we were. But we were laughing, we were having a great time. We were so proud of ourselves as well for doing something that, we're not young and fit and, agile, we realized, but we're out there doing it. And that's what I love about what we're doing with Kindred Women. And this is where it's evolved, in that what I've now realized too is, when I first started, it was about, this feeling of disconnection. Now I'm realizing it's actually for women who are at a stage in their life where they have been everything to everyone else. They've given, at the local sports clubs, they've given at the local school, they've been, given in their workplaces, whatever. They're now at a stage in their life where they're going, what about me? What do I actually like? I don't even know what I like, because I haven't had time for so long to think about myself.
Yep.
And so what this provides is, just like little taster activities, like an intro to surfing. Okay, come and try surfing. Intro to golf, come and try it. And if they like it, they can continue on and do it. Or if they don't, they try something else. But it's providing these just little opportunities for women to go, oh, I've always been interested in that, but I'm a bit nervous about putting myself out there to to the golf club by myself. But if there's a group of women going and we're just going to, hit a few balls, in a lesson, yeah, I can do that. So that's what I love too, is the safe space, is that we're all there together. We're all, new at the activity, and we're all really welcoming. We all are very welcoming to other women that come on board as well.
And so, in the spirit of evolution and thinking, you know, this whole concept has already come so far, do you think about where it could go?
I do, but that sort of scares me a bit, you know, like it's that I'm in my little comfort bubble here in Bangalore where I know, you know, everyone and everything, but I know that this model could easily be transported, you know, around the country, because there are women everywhere who are going through this. Just because, you know, we're going through it doesn't mean it's unique to Bangalore. And I have had lots of women from out of the area that want to get involved or have just said, that's such a brilliant idea. Yes, I definitely think there's room to grow with that.
I agree.
And I am at that point where I'm investigating the ways to do that, because I, you know, part of my growth is realizing that, you know, I can't do everything myself, and involving other people and, you know, asking for support. And that's been a huge, you know, revelation for me over the last few weeks. And that's what I realized with Kindred Women Together. For it to grow to other areas, it needs more women in a, you know, organizational sense, or not even just women, men can be involved as well, but it needs more people in that, more of a committee of people to go, okay, what's the long-term goal for this, and where, you know, how are we going to drive that?
Well, I'm personally excited to see how it will evolve over the next few years, Janice, because it's such a great idea. And for the women that might be in the Northern Rivers at the moment, and they might happen across this podcast, how do they get involved in Kindred Women Together?
Well, they can go to our website, which is kindredwomentogether.com. And on the website, they can see all the different activities that we have going on. And but if they subscribe, they'll receive my weekly newsletter, and that has updates about what's happening as well. I get lots of phone calls from women from, you know, out of the area or within the area that just phone and have a chat, you know. And that's the other side of it that I like too, is that, you know, I can always connect women with other women, not necessarily through the activities. And I have done that as well, where I've, you know, encouraged certain women to come to certain activities because I know that they'll meet, you know, women that will, you know, respond to them. The other thing that I offer too is a morning tea at my home every second Friday, and that's a really easy way for women to just come and meet a few other women in a really relaxed, casual morning tea, and, you know, an hour and a half, have a chat, meet other women. And I get lots of ideas from women that come to that as well, that they've got their own ideas. So they come and they tell me their ideas, and I'm like, well, that's a great idea. Like, I'm happy to promote that, you know. And then it's so cute because they're sitting in their homes and they're going, I've got a good idea. And that's the other thing that I love, that by me following my heart and doing what, you know, I think is right by setting this up, other women are following their heart and they're coming to me and they're offering, like Sandy's doing the cooking and Lauren is, you know, hosting or leading the walk on a Monday morning. And these are just women that came to me, or everyone that's come to me and said, I would like to do this. I would like to do this. And I'm like, great, you know, let's promote everything. And women are just jumping on board to get involved, it's just wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending this amount of time with me this morning, Janice, and just talking about everything from following your heart through to setting intentions and trusting processes. You are an inspiration just simply through your generosity and the way that you do things in life. So it's such a privilege to have you on the show. And if I can just encourage everyone, you know, follow Kindred Women Together on Instagram and Facebook. And if you're in the area, like Janice says, check out the website and just see if there's any activities that you're interested in. If there's not, you can always just join in that morning tea that Janice has every second Friday. So, Janice, thank you so much. Would you come back at a
Thank
later
you.
date?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Steffi. And I really want to thank you for all of your support as well. You've been there from the start and have watched this little idea grow into what it is today. And, it's with people like yourself that have, that encouraged me at the start. And here we are. And I'm so proud of, everything that we've achieved. But, and thank you for helping me.
That's my pleasure, Janice. All right, my darling.